two other stories that we encountered earlier. The story of the Zen master whose only response was always, "Is that so?" shows the good that comes through inner non resistance to events, that is to say, being at being at one with what happens. The story of the man whose comment was invariably a laconic maybe illustrates the wisdom of non judgment, and the story of the ring points to the fact of impermanence, which, when recognized, leads to non attachment. Non resistance, non judgment, and non attachment are the three aspects of true freedom and enlightened living. These words inscribed on the ring are not telling you that you should not enjoy the good in your life, nor are they merely meant to provide some comfort in times of suffering. They have a deeper purpose to make you aware of the fleetingness of every situation, which is due to the transience of all forms, good or bad. When you become aware of the transience of all forms, your attachment to them lessens and you disidentify from them to some extent. Being detached does not mean that you cannot enjoy the good and the world that the world has to offer. In fact, you enjoy it more once you see and accept the transience of all things and the inevitability of change. You can enjoy the pleasures of the world while they last without fear of loss or anxiety about the future. When you're detached, you gain a higher vantage point from which to view the events in your life instead of being trapped inside them. You become like an astronaut who sees the planet Earth surrounded by the vastness of space and realizes a paradoxical truth. The Earth, mm, the Earth is precious and at the same time insignificant. The recognition that this too will pass brings detachment, and with detachment, another dimension comes into your inner space. Through detachment as well as non judgment and inner non resistance, you gain access to that dimension. When you're no longer totally identified with forms, consciousness, who you are becomes freed from its imprisonment in form. This freedom is the arising of inner space. It comes as a stillness, a subtle peace deep within you, even in the face of something seemingly bad. This too will pass. Suddenly, there's a space around the event. There's also space around the emotional highs and lows, even around pain. And above all, there is space between your thoughts. And from that space emanates a peace that is not of this world, because this world form and the peace is space. This is the peace of God. Now you can enjoy and honor the things of the world without giving them an importance and significance they don't have. You can participate in the dance of creation and be active without attachment to outcome and without placing unreasonable demands upon the world. Fulfill me, make me happy, make me feel safe, tell me who I am. The world cannot give you those things. And when you no longer have such expectations, all self created suffering comes to an end. All such suffering is due to an overvaluation of form and an unawareness of the dimension of inner space. When that dimension is present in your life, You can enjoy things, experiences, and the pleasures of the sense without losing yourself in them, without inner attachment to them. That is to say, without becoming addicted to the world. The words, this too will pass, are pointers toward reality. In pointing to the impermanence of all forms, by implication, they are also pointing to the eternal. Only the eternal in you can recognize the impermanent as impermanent. When the dimension of space is lost, or rather not known, the things of the world assume an absolute importance, a seriousness and heaviness that in truth they do not have. When the world is not viewed from the perspective of the formless, it becomes a threatening place, a place of despair. The
Your voice is breaking,
prophet
Shilpa.
felt that this when he
Is it for everyone?
wrote, a man cannot utter it. Somebody like they are
I'm finding
and
Shilpa's
space
voice breaking. Is
consciousness.
it for everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So I think we'll have to reread the last para because it was not
I
so
could
well heard.
Yes, yes.
Even your sound is very slow,
you
Sunita.
wait, let me see.
You want me to share the screen? Now I can. Are you
Okay.
comfortable?
No, no, you can do it.
Okay. Anyone who wants to read, we have lesson.
Audible now.
Yeah, better, better.
I'll read in case you're not able to hear, then someone else can take over.
No, you are okay now, like better than before.
Okay. When the dimension of space is lost, or rather not known, the things of the world assume an absolute importance, a seriousness and heaviness that in truth they do not have. When the world is not viewed from the perspective of the formless, it becomes a threatening place and ultimately a place of despair. The Old Testament prophet must have felt this when he wrote, all things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. Object consciousness and space consciousness. Most people's lives are cluttered up with things, material things, things to do, things to think about. Their lives are like the history of humanity, which Winston Churchill defined as one damn thing after another. Their minds are filled up with the clutter of thoughts, one thought after another. This is the dimension of object consciousness. That is many people's predominant reality, and that is why their lives are so out of balance. Object consciousness needs to be balanced by space consciousness for sanity to return to our planet and for humanity to fulfill its destiny. The arising of space consciousness is the next stage in the evolution of humanity. Space consciousness, space consciousness man's means that in addition to being conscious of things, which always come down to sense perceptions, thoughts, and emotions, there is an undercurrent of awareness. Awareness implies that you are not only conscious of things, that is, objects, but you are also conscious of being conscious. If you can sense an alert inner stillness in the background while things happen in the foreground, that's it. This dimension is there in everyone, but most people are completely unaware. Sometimes I point to it by saying, can you feel your own presence? Space consciousness represents not only freedom from ego, but also from dependency on the things of this world, from materialism and materiality. It is the spiritual dimension which alone can give transcendent and true meaning to this. Whenever you are upset with an event, a person, or a situation, the real cause is not the event, person, or situation, but a loss of true perspective that only space can provide. You are trapped in object consciousness, unaware of the timeless inner space of consciousness itself. The words, this too shall pass, when used as a pointer, can restore awareness of that dimension. Another pointer to the truth of you is contained in the following statement. I am never upset for the reason I think. Falling below and rising above. When you are very tired, you may become more peaceful, more relaxed than in your usual state. This is because thinking is substantive, and so you can't remember your mind made problematic self. You're moving towards when you drink alcohol or take certain drugs, provided they don't trigger your pain body. You may also feel more relaxed, more careful, and perhaps more alive for a while. You may start singing and dancing, which since ancient times are expressions of joy. Because you are less burdened by your mind, you can glimpse the joy of being. Perhaps this is the reason alcohol is also called spirit. But there is a high price to pay, unconsciousness. Instead of rising above thought, you have fallen below. A few more drinks, and you will have regressed to the vegetable. Space consciousness has little to do with being spaced out. Both states are beyond. This they have in common. The fundamental difference, however, is that in the former, you rise above thought, in the latter, you fall below it. One is the next step in the evolution of consciousness, the other, a regression to a stage we left behind eons ago. Television. Watching television is the favorite leisure activity, or rather non activity, for millions of people around the world. The average American, by the time he is 60 years old, will have spent 15 years staring at the TV screen. In many other countries, the figures are similar. Many people find watching television relaxing. Observe yourself closely. You will find that the longer the screen remains the focus of your attention, the more the thought activity becomes suspended. And for long periods, you are watching the talk show, game show, sitcom, or even commercials with almost no thought being generated by your mind. Not only do you not remember your problems anymore, but you become temporarily free of yourself. And what could be more relaxing than that? So, does TV watching create inner space? Does it cause you to be present? Unfortunately, it does not. Although for long periods your minds may not be generating any thoughts, it has linked into the thought activity of the television show. It has linked up with the TV version of the collective mind and is thinking it. Your mind is inactive only in the sense that it is not producing thoughts. It is, however, continuously absorbing thoughts and images that come through the screen. This induces a trance like passive state of heightened perceptibility, not unlike hypnosis. That is why it lends itself to manipulation of public opinion as politicians and special interest groups, as well as advertisers know and will pay billions of dollars to catch you in that state of deceptive unawareness. They want their thoughts to become your thoughts, and usually they succeed. So, when watching television, the tendency is for you to fall below thought, not rise above. Television has this in common with alcohol and certain other drugs. While it provides some relief from your mind, you again pay a high price, loss of consciousness. Like those drugs, it too has a strong addictive quality. You reach for the remote control to switch off, and instead you find yourself going through all the channels. Half an hour or an hour later, you are still watching, still going through the channels. The off button is the only one of your fingers unable to press. You are still watching, usually not because anything of interest has got your attention, but precisely because there is nothing of interest to watch. Once you are hooked, the more trivial, the more meaningless it is, the more addictive it becomes. If it were interesting, thought provoking, it would stimulate your mind into thinking for itself again, which is more conscious and therefore preferable to a TV induced drugs. Your attention would therefore no longer be totally held captive by the images of the screen. The content of the program, if there is a certain quality to it, can to some extent counteract and sometimes even undo the hypnotic, mind numbing effect of the media. There are some programs that have been extremely helpful to many, have changed their lives for better, opened their heart, made them more conscious. Even some comedy shows, although they may be about nothing in particular, can be unintentionally spiritual by showing a caricature version of human form and the ego. They teach us not to take anything too seriously, to approach life in a light-hearted way, and above all, they teach by making us laugh. Laughter is extraordinarily liberating as well as healing. Most of the television, however, is yet controlled by people who are totally controlled by the ego. So, the TV's hidden agenda becomes control of you by putting you to sleep. That is to say, making you unconscious. Yet there is enormous and still largely unexplored potential in the medium of television. Avoid watching programs and commercials that assault you with a rapid succession of images that change every 2 or 3 seconds or less. Excessive TV watching and those programs in particular are largely responsible for attention deficit disorder, a mental dysfunction now affecting millions of children worldwide. A short attention span makes all your perceptions and relationships shallow and unsatisfying. Whatever you do, whatever action you perform in that state lacks the quality because quality requires attention. Frequent and prolonged TV watching not only makes you unconscious, it also induces passivity and drains you of energy. Therefore, rather than watching at random, choose the programs you want to see. Whenever you remember to do so, feel the aliveness inside your body as you watch. Alternatively, be aware of your breathing from time to time. Look away from the screen at regular intervals so that it does not completely take possession of your visual sense. Don't turn up the volume any higher than necessary so that the TV doesn't overwhelm you on the auditory level. Use the mute button during commercials. Make sure you don't go to sleep immediately after switching off the set, or even worse, fall asleep with the set still on. Would anyone else want to take this further?
Yeah, there are no names, but yeah, anyone wants to also put your names if you want to. Yes? No one? Okay, let me read.
Wilton.
Rajesh has mentioned, but he's going
Okay, okay.
Wilton.
No, I can't see his name. Okay, anyways, yeah. You want to start, Rajesh? Can't hear you actually. Are you
Okay,
trying to speak?
recognizing inner space is something that you want to start from.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
I'll start because Rajesh, I think you will have to rejoin maybe because your voice is not audible.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Now we can. Yeah. Go on, go on.
Yeah, yeah. I will, I will. Okay. I'll start from that space between the recognizing
Yeah.
inner recognizing inner space. Space between thoughts is probably already arising sporadically in your life, and you may not even know it. A consciousness mesmerized by experiences and conditioned to identify exclusively with form, that is that is to stay sorry, that is to say object consciousness finds it at first almost impossible to become aware of space. This ultimately means that you cannot become aware of yourself because you are always aware of something else. You are continuously distracted by form even when you seem to be aware of yourself. You are continuously distracted by form even when you seem to be aware of yourself. You have made yourself into an object, a thought form, and so what you are aware of is a thought, not yourself. When you hear of inner space, you may start seeking it, and because you are seeking it as if you were looking for an object for an experience, you cannot find it. This is the dilemma of all those who are seeking spiritual realization or enlightenment. Hence, Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is not coming with signs to be observed, nor will they say, 'Lo, here it is,' or 'there.' For behold, the kingdom of God is in the midst of you." Midst of you. If you're not spending all of your waking life in discontent, worry, anxiety, depression, despair, all consumed by other negative states, if you are able to enjoy simple things like listening to the sound of the rain or the wind, if you can see the beauty of clouds moving across the sky, or be alone at times without feeling lonely or needing the mental stimulus of entertainment, if you find yourself treating a complete stranger with heartfelt kindness without wanting anything from him or her, it means that a space has opened up, no matter how briefly, in the otherwise incessant stream of thinking that is the human mind. When this happens, there is a sense of well being, of alive peace, even though it may be subtle. The intensity will vary from a perhaps barely noticeable background sense of contentment to what the ancient sages of India called Ananda, the bliss of being, because you have been conditioned to pay attention only to form. You are probably not aware of it except indirectly. For example, there is a common element in the ability to see beauty, to appreciate simple things, to enjoy your own company, or to relate to other people with loving kindness. This common element is a sense of contentment, peace, and aliveness that is the invisible background without which these experiences would not be possible. Whenever there is beauty, kindness, the recognition of the goodness of simple things in your life, look for the background to the experience within yourself. But don't look for don't look for it as if you were looking for something. You cannot pin it down and say, now I have it, or grasp it mentally and define it in some way. It is like the cloudless sky. It has no form, it is space, it is stillness, the sweetness of being, and infinitely more than these words, which are only pointers. When you are able to sense it directly within yourself, it deepens. So, when you appreciate something simple, a sound, a sight, a touch, when you see beauty, when you feel loving kindness toward another, sense the inner spaciousness that is the source and background to that experience. Many poets and sages throughout the ages have observed that true happiness, I call it the joy of being, is found in simple, seemingly unremarkable things. Most people, in their restless search for something significant to happen to them, continuously miss the insignificant, which may not be insignificant at all. The philosopher Nietzsche, in a rare moment of deep stillness, wrote, "For happiness, how little suffice for happiness. The least thing precisely, the gentle, the gentlest thing, the lightest thing, a lizard's rustling, a breath, a whisk, an eye glance, little make up the best happiness. Be still." Why is it the least thing that makes up the best happiness? Because true happiness is not only caused by the thing or the event, although this is how it first appears. The thing or the event is so subtle, so unub, unobtrusive, oh my, unobtrusive that it takes up only a small part of your consciousness, and the rest is inner space. Consciousness itself, unobstructed by form, inner space, consciousness, and why you are in your essence all one and the same. In other words, the form of little things leaves room for inner space, and it is from inner space, the unconditioned consciousness itself, that true happiness, the joy of being, emanates. To be aware of little, quiet things, however, you need to be quiet inside. A high degree of alertness is required. Be still, look, listen, be present. Here is another way finding inner space. Become conscious of being conscious. Oh, become conscious of being conscious. Say or think, I am, and add nothing to it. Be aware of the stillness that follows the I am. Sense your presence, the naked, unveiled, unclothed beingness. It is untouched by young or old, rich or poor, good or bad, or any other attributes. It is a spacious warmth of all creation, all form. Can I continue? Do we have time to read? I love to read this. If time
Yeah,
permits,
just
we
a
can
minute. I'll just check
continue.
how much is left. If it is a little left, then we'll finish off the chapter. If it is a lot, then we'll wait. Yeah, the chapter is big,
Yeah, it goes
but
beyond. I think
yeah,
we
we
can
can
note on the
finish that
page.
part.
Yeah, we can note on the page what we have completed to continue for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a little, it's a big. So we won't be finishing it. So let's stop somewhere. But let me see which part to stop at. Mm, the
Yeah,
way
7:45 now.
it's without naming right action. Yeah, here, na? Can you hear the mountain stream?
Yeah.
Maybe this part you can finish, Rajesh.
Okay, fine. Yeah, till that high action, huh? Till
Yeah.
can you hear the mountain stream? A Zen master was walking in silence with one of his disciples along a mountain trail. When they came to an ancient cedar tree, they sat down under it for a simple meal of some rice and vegetables. After the meal, the disciple, a young monk who had not yet found the key to the mystery of Zen, broke the silence by asking the master, Master, how do I enter Zen? He was, of course, inquiring how to enter the state of consciousness, which is Zen. The master remained silent. Almost 5 minutes passed while the disciple anxiously waited for an answer. He was about to ask another question when the master suddenly spoke. Do you hear the sound of that mountain stream? The disciple had not been aware of any mountain stream. He had been too busy thinking about the meaning of Zen. Now, as he began to listen for the sound, his noisy mind subsided. At first, he heard nothing. Then his thinking gave way to heightened alertness, and suddenly he did hear the hardly perceptible murmur of small stream in the far distance. Yes, I can hear it now, he said. The master raised his finger and said, with a look in his eyes that in some way was both fierce and gentle, said, enter Zen from there. The disciple was stunned. It was his first satori, a flash of enlightenment. He knew that he knew what Zen was without knowing what it was that he knew. He knew what Zen was without knowing what it was that he knew. Something. They continued on their journey in silence. The disciple was amazed at the aliveness of the world around him. He experienced everything as if for the first time. Gradually, however, he started thinking again. The alert stillness became covered up again by mental noise, and before long he had another question. Master, he said, I've been thinking, what would you have said if I hadn't been able to hear the mountain stream? The master stopped, looked at him, raised his finger, and said, enter Zen from there.
Okay. Yeah. Let's stop here then.
Right action is the starting point for tomorrow. Note down the page number, which it is.
Yeah, I'll do that. It's 144.
So, thank you so much.
So almost 54 pages to go, and we'll be done with the book. 40, yeah, 45. Maybe the next chapters are smaller also. Okay. So yeah, we can open up for discussion. Anyone wants to share something? It was more of a deep reading today. So yeah, please share whatever are your insights, whatever you would like to share.
Okay, let me share from my reading whatever I have read the last few minutes. I feel that I think the author pointed out the power of now, or enjoy the present moment, and be alert on nothing being. I think he's asking. I think don't think about anything, and try to be uh, try to be, what to say, at present. That is the one thing I like, that one, the from what I read. And the beginning of the chapter, these two shall pass. The Yes, mentioned this two will pass. We There's a one small line, I think even I have heard in some stories forms, and somebody said in the past, but this is a one profound line. If any situation happens, whether it is good thing or whether it is some tragedy or something bad thing happen, if we have the mentality of having these two shall pass on, that will give us, I think, awareness and some enlightenment at that moment. I think we are not going to be jump on here and there when we have something achieved or something good thing happen, or we are not going to block ourselves if something bad happens. When we have this mentality, these two shall pass. Yeah, this is the one takeaway from today's leading session. uh, this is my way of understanding today's leading. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. These were my also highlights, like main takeaways from today. In fact, the this too shall pass story is a little elaborated from what I understand than the author has explained. So, what I remember is there was a king who was given this by a monk, some note to keep in his ring or somewhere, and he asked him to open it only when he found himself in a very extreme situation or something like that. And then when he was losing a war or something, and he would just had no hope, and he wanted to just give up or maybe suicide or something like that. He just remembers that I need to read, and he was asked to read that only when he is in that kind of a situation, and then he reads it. This too shall pass, and that gives him a lot of hope and faith and everything, and that encourages him to continue, and everything falls good after that. And then wins, and when at the end, when he is having his crowning ceremony or something like that, uh that time also he opens it or something like that, like again it was extreme situation where he's super happy. So then he opens it, and again there is this message, this too shall pass. So it's something like, uh from the story that I understand, it is like whenever you are the saddest or the happiest, both places the message applies. I think that was mentioned very shortly in the book, so I just added to this. And yeah, the being part also is, yeah, very much I could relate with that. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other pointers? Anything?
Yes, good morning all. Uh,
Hi,
though I
Suman.
joined,
Yeah.
yeah, though I joined late, but what I could listen was it was that least things make up the best happiness. And the example of Zen master and his student, the student who wanted to know about Zen philosophy, that was very profound. So he wanted to know about Zen, and the master pointed towards the mountain stream. Earlier, he was not able to notice that, but as he got consciousness or as he got aware of that, now all other thoughts they disappeared from his mind, and he was able, after focusing, he was able to listen to that stream of mountain. So the thing is about decluttering our mind, focusing, and becoming aware of our consciousness.
Yes, very true, very true. Yeah. Anyone
Yeah, that.
else? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful point. Yeah, thank you, Sunit. Suman. Yeah. Anyone else wants to add something? Any new, any particular point that stayed out for you, that popped up for you? Any aha moment? Anything? Any realization? Please feel free to share. Anything from the chapter that we read today?
Yeah, I just want to, in the same alignment, see, we have to take life like a flow of river and the same current of water, like, you cannot touch the current of water twice, right? So the point is, when we focus on our purpose of life, like what we want to become, what we want to enjoy, what we want to experience, that should not be attached to any person, anything in life, because otherwise, what will happen is, it will block your progress towards your own purpose of life. And if we, if we relate to Bhagavad Gita and so many other similar teachings, that the pain is part of life, struggle is part of life. Okay, but you have to, when the sprout has to come from soil, it has to go through resistance. So whatever resistance we face on a day-to-day basis, we have to. But if that is blocking us in our alignment of our goal or a purpose of life, we have to go. We have to come out of that resistance, and uh, and we have to see that that is a part of life. We have to don't see it like a lack of motivation or something bad emotion or something like that. So I think this reading is in alignment with the alignment with the same teachings that we should always focus on our purpose of life and focus on the present moment, because this is what you have in your hand, because you cannot control, you cannot change the past, and you cannot forecast the future. So focusing on the present moment is doing your best in every act of life, and not to worry about any resistance, because resistance is the path to liberation. So I think uh, you know like uh, I was reading Gita also this week. The learning was that uh, that acceptance of life is how you liberate yourself. So you have to accept what come on your way, and you have to face it with complete you can say optimism, your purpose and things like that. So that will every the restances, the fear, and everything will serve your purpose for your upliftment and enlightenment. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think the next chapter is on purpose. So today it was all about being in the present moment and more of the being state and all of that. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything you want to highlight? I even love the television part that was shared. Like how when we are on watching a television, or like when we are involved in watching something, we are, rather than elevating our consciousness, we are degrading it, because we are actually buying in the opinions and the beliefs that are being projected by those like people, screen, or whatever that is being put into us. So we are not really thinking as such, but we are just falling, or like taking it like from them. So that point I really liked. So yeah. Yeah, Deepa, you want to share something? Sunita, Deepa.
Yeah, I have a small sharing, more of an experience actually. The turn of the century, I went through a very painful time, extremely painful. Prior to that, I had actually worked very hard um, to be at a place where I wanted to be. But at the turn of the century, around 1999, 2000, things went in such a way, it totally shattered me. Such unexpected pain and suffering I had to go through.
um, it showed the true colors of the people around me and who's who. And again, at that moment, no, the only idea which I could process and live through was this too shall pass. After a couple of years, after a month or whatever, this too shall pass. Things will change. Things never remain the same throughout. So that kept me going, and whatever I desired prior to that suffering and that pain, I realized it. So it made me more stronger actually. And then again, 20 years, 25 years later, went through again similar shattering pain. But again, I bounced out of it only with the thought process that this too shall pass. Nothing is permanent. There is only impermanence. And whatever is happening around us, whether we are going through a joy or pain, whatever it is, everything is impermanent. We just have to take a slice of whatever is happening, and then as soon as we take that slice, that moment passes and we are into the next moment. So that is how it is, and we have to accept it and keep it moving. And whenever the breaking time happens, we have to regenerate ourselves like a phoenix. We have to rise, and that is a process of getting that ultimate bliss and ananda, mm, in a detached way, because everything is impermanent. So I was not part of the full reading today. I was just listening today very passively. So I thought I should just share these couple of things which popped up as I was listening to portions of reading today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was very much in alignment what we read today, so that is great. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, Suman, have you raised your hand? You want to speak something more, or it was the hand that is raised before? It's Shilpa. Okay, yeah, Shilpa. Yeah, please, please.
Okay. Um, I think I just want to apologize. I had some problems earlier, so you could not have heard me while I was reading. And I'm glad that somebody took over. Um, you know, this impermanence thing, the law of impermanence, has helped me a lot. And it is also, um, I was at a Tibetan retreat, a Tibetan Buddhist Lama retreat. And so there was one person who said that she's getting a divorce. So everybody went to her, everybody said, there was a kind of murmuring going on in the group, kind of trying to support her in some way, you know. And she said, no, she's very happy. She's very happy that she's getting a divorce. So that's when, the Lama told us, see, when you are listening to that, that she's getting a divorce, then you are not in her space. You are listening, and then you are perceiving what you heard through your conditioning, through your experience and everything. The same thing, there was another person who said she lost her house in a fire. And she was also very happy. She was not devastated. Why? Because her house had major problems, and now her insurance would pay and she could build a new place. So again, what we perceive is not always the truth, and we are not in the space to see it. And then the third example is, some of you may have known that Last year, I spent a lot of time in Mount Abu, and there was this German friend of mine. Got to know him there, 85 years old, Manfred. And Manfred told me that his son had died. So I expressed my condolences. And he says, no, no, no. He's gone to God. And I'm so happy for him. So that's when I realized, there's another perspective to see all this. And that brings us back to this law of impermanence. All these people, first of all, I think we should remember we see things according to our perspective, which may not be the reality. Okay, and even that, nothing exists for a long time. I couldn't understand this expression because my father would always say, this is all Maya. So when there would be some happy occasion, he would smile and say, this is all Maya. When there was a sad occasion, this is also Maya. And I just couldn't understand what this Maya is. And then he would tell me, oh, this is all illusion. And I said, well, how can you be illusion? I'm touching the chair, I'm touching my clothes, I'm touching my body. And he says, yes, how long will it last? I said, a few years. And then I said, the earth and the sun. Yes, but are they going to last forever? And what is forever? That got to me thinking, and that's when I started understanding. I'm still in the process. That when there's nothing which remains forever, and even the emotions that we have in our body, they stay only for 90 seconds in our body before they're cleansed by the body itself. So what is it that we are holding on to keep the hurt, keep the hatred, keep the anger? I mean, it's not only about emotions, but also looking for things in life instead of I am or identifying with things as well as possessing things like I have. Because I is going to be short-lived. So somebody was asking me yesterday, so what is the purpose of this I? So the purpose of I is just to watch and enjoy. Nothing to do, nothing to do, nothing to give, nothing to be. Now, this sounds very profound, and I've experienced it, and I always dip back into our normal life. But when you dip into this pool of consciousness, which is, I would say, a longer state in the sense that this consciousness always remains. So I'll share with you a poem later. It's by Khalil Gibran, how the river fears to go into the ocean because it recognizes itself as a river and it does not want to lose its identity. But as soon as it realizes that this river is going to merge and become an ocean, it gives in and it's liberated. So even the river does not stay a river. So everything is impermanent. So let's take life not too seriously and just enjoy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful shares and addition, Shilpa. That were really valuable. Yeah, anyone else who wants to add something?
So yesterday I was reading something related to this, and the point is the nature has to change itself in a year. Like there are 6 seasons in a year, right? So the nature itself to change with the time to do its purpose. So if we relate to that our own like humankind, right? We have to change, adapt ourselves, accept, and just walk through the purpose of life. And we have to keep changing with people, timing, and situations. You know, we are stuck at one place. There is no growth, right? And the real growth comes from resistance. So we have to love the resistance. We have to love the challenges. We have to love the obstacles because there is the real upliftment. So we have to learn from nature that nature itself changes 6 times a year as per the season, right? We have to keep changing, adapting, and uh, like go through all the uh, the phases of life and just uplift ourselves in a proper way. That's the message. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else wants to add something? Who have not spoken yet? Richa, maybe? I think all others have at least shared something. You want to add something, Richa? Or I think we're good to go otherwise.
Yeah, no, not today because I joined in late, so I was enjoying listening to everyone. So
No,
I will
no, no.
share tomorrow. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Yeah, the chapter is still ongoing, and whoever have joined late and missed on the chapter, either you can catch up on the recording or you can go through the chapter on your own. And I would again highly insist watch the podcast because the podcast will add to the understanding of the book. Since the book is quite deep, the podcast really helps. Like I have also restarted listening to it, and they're really giving me some more insights into the learning. So please do that. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining. It was a great discussion and a nice reading today. Now the book is taking us to a different level altogether. It's like the second half or the more, I would say, spiritual part of the book is getting started. Like earlier, it was just awareness. Now it's taking us to the solutions or the understanding of the concepts even better and what to do and all of that. So please be there every day. We'll be finishing it this week mostly. So yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone. See you all. Have a great day ahead. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.